Hello friends, Box Van D here. Thank you for coming. I promise you a third part of this series. This is going to be the very hardest one I have done. So in part 1, I shared a few pictures and things from my nomadic childhood. I shared it was a difficult time. I tried not to share too much. In part 2, I shared how I went from a very difficult childhood to foster care and then to live with my loving older sister. So far, I have only shared small bits and pieces, not to depress you, but to show that a person can come out of trauma and change their lives to be a better person and find happiness no matter how bad their circumstances were. Today I'm going to share part 3, my adult life. It's not going to be quite as positive as I normally put up my videos. This is from my heart. It's sharing something very deep and very personal to me. I hope it'll help other people that may be going through some similar things or have gone through some similar things. This video today is not about nomadic life. It's about life. The sad things in life. I've had a lot of struggles, and I'm sharing some stuff that I've rarely ever shared with anybody. Now I'm putting it out to the world in hopes that it'll help somebody. So I hope you'll stick around and listen to the end. I hope don't start feeling sorry for me. I don't need any sympathy. I don't need or want sympathy. I only want to encourage and help others. So that's truly my goal in doing this video. Thank you for watching. Hope you'll bear with me. When I'm nervous or anxious, I do have a tendency to stutter a little bit more. And I notice I'm stuttering quite a bit tonight. So as children, we never learned what a so-called normal life should be. We moved constantly, and we didn't make long or lifelong friendships or even close friends. We always moved in the right in the middle of the night. We packed up everything way after dark, loaded the car. We took off before daylight. We always traveled at night. I never understood why. We were never allowed to say goodbye to anybody. We were always told we could not share anything that went on in our home with anybody. We would occasionally, over the years, see some of our cousins, aunts and uncles, and my grandparents on my mother's side, but we never stayed long enough to really get to know any of them. So we didn't grow up with cousins and family. We really didn't know how families worked. We never learned social skills. When I was young, I believed that all kids were in families like ours, or at least pretty much. I knew there were some that seemed to have it all. Their parents were good to them and things like that, but I still thought the majority of people lived the same way we did, except they didn't travel all the time. We didn't know the difference between discipline and abuse. We actually believed we were normal. Deep down inside, we knew our life wasn't really right, but it was what we knew. And it was, I guess, accepted by us. None of us 5 kids were happy in our childhood. We were not prepared for life, especially life as an adult. My mother instilled some good morals in us, and we learned how to work hard and to be obedient. But a big part of our lives were neglect, abuse, and poverty. So when I became an adult, I was not prepared for what it would be like. I had always swore that I would give my children a better life. I believe my parents did the best they knew how, but I believe my parents passed on what they knew to us kids. Both of my parents hit us kids, but my dad was the worst. We suffered in ways I cannot describe in this video. Suffice it to say that things happened to us that no person should ever have to endure. I grew up, and all I ever wanted was to have a good man that would love me and to have happy, healthy children that I could shower my love on and that would love me in return. But because of my warped, confused thinking about love, I always managed to quote-unquote fall in love with men that were a lot like my father. They were always great at first, but they became like a Jekyll and Hyde as soon as I married them. I never saw it coming until it was too late. I always worked throughout my adult life, sometimes 2 jobs. So I ended up supporting several of my husbands. When my oldest son was 8 years old and my youngest son was 4 years old, I finally broke away from the physical abuse to me and my boys. But my future marriages were still abusive, verbally, emotionally, and in other ways I won't mention. Alcohol, drugs, and narcissism, as well as other kinds of addictions, fueled their abusive behaviors, again, against me and my children. I spent many of these years in and out of therapy. In those years, there were very few resources you could call on to help. I also spent many of these years searching religion, but I never got any real help in the churches. The authorities and social services were no help either. I couldn't raise my children on the streets, so I continued in bad marriages until they were grown up. My boys were seriously affected by all my bad choices and the abuse. My oldest son became an abuser himself. He was a drug addict and he is a sociopath. He has been in and out of prison since he was 18, mostly in, which is where he is now. My youngest son was an alcoholic and then a drug addict. Before he even reached the age of 20, he died in a swimming accident, diving off a bridge with his friends here in Arizona at the Colorado River. I never found out, I tried to find out, but I never found out if it was an accident, drugs, or suicide. He was seriously depressed. When they were younger, I had them in counseling many, many times, off and on through the years. But the damage was already done, and the counseling couldn't fix that. I was an adult I should have protected my children better. I didn't know how. I didn't have the resources to help me. So I spent the rest of my life feeling guilty and feeling bad and feeling responsible. It took me many, many years to get beyond that. I continued in bad relationships, and I'll go on further from here. Today, I know that God has forgiven me for my bad choices, for all the mistakes I've made, for not taking care of my children better. I took a long time, but I finally learned to forgive myself. I've forgiven my parents. That's the beginning of healing. So I will going to continue telling you about the story. Abuse comes in many forms: physical, sexual, mental, and so many other ways. The victims are usually scared and dependent. They usually have nowhere else to go, nobody to turn to. Abusers break their victims down by belittling them, calling them names, telling them they're no good, blaming them for the abusers hurting them. Neglect. Abusers will hurt their victims, and then afterwards they are so apologetic and so loving and tell their victims that they didn't mean it, they will never do it again. Then the victim believes them, and they melt. They forgive them, and they feel sorry for the abuser. The victim lives in daily fear. I always believed when they told me it was my fault. I believed it when I was told I was no good, that nobody else would have me, that I believed there was something seriously wrong with me, that I was unlovable, unattractive, useless, unimportant. I believed them when they said they would hunt me down if I ever left, that they would do something so unimaginable to me and my children if they ever caught up with me. Even worse than killing us. I couldn't trust anyone. I had walls. People couldn't stand to be around me because I was so miserable. I hated myself. I had no hope, no desire, no self-esteem, and I felt completely helpless and vulnerable. There's a whole lot more to this story, how I broke away from the chain of abuse or cycle of abuse. I will say that death didn't matter anymore. If they want to chase me down and kill me, it's no worse than they kill me if I stay. So that I did finally break away from that. I broke that cycle. I broke that chain. A little over 5 years ago, when I became a nomad living in a car, I began my journey to healing. I've shared a lot of videos on my channel, like about 200 and some odd videos, more than that. I share a lot of my story. I share so many things about my life. I try to stay positive. I have to work at it just like anybody else. It's not always easy. I had always hidden or buried my pain. I didn't even acknowledge it to very many people. But today, I am healing. I'm come a long ways in 5 years. I live a free, happy life with a purpose. My purpose is to help others. God has given me a new life. He has helped me to share my story so that I can help other people know how to live, know how to find happiness, know how to get beyond almost impossible odds. I am a miracle from God. I believe He has worked great miracles in my life. Even with all the struggles, even the past 5 years, He's been with me the whole way. When God forgave me and I forgave myself, that was the beginning of my healing. I can't undo the past, but I can change today and tomorrow. It wasn't all bad. I share a few pictures of some of the more pleasant times in my life, just a few. I don't have very many pictures, but I'll share those with you. Next time, I believe I will share with you how my nomadic journey has helped me heal and the things I've learned over the last 5 years about healing. And I hope you could continue following me. Hope this video didn't depress you. Hope you can see how it can benefit others. That's my goal. I want to help others. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please share it out on your social media. Please share it out on your community tab. If somebody's in trouble, help them to realize they don't have to stay there. They can get out. They can get help. I love you all. I've made so many wonderful friends here. I'm so grateful for all the emotional support, financial support, just phone calls, emails, letters, comments. It is healing to me. I didn't heal from a church. I didn't heal through therapy, but this life has healed me. It's healing to me. And I need to share that with you. Please, if you like this video, if you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. Hit the bell so you'll know when I put out another video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate you guys more than you will ever know. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye-bye.